Time is now 5 o'clock, and welcome to the first meeting for Bbase, which is the Black and Brown Association of Sound Engineers. And I am joined by 4 special people in this organization who are all members of the board. But in brief, what we're going to do before we commence official business on this meeting, recently, within the last 48 hours of my life, they have changed. The results of what I've learned have changed, my perspective on life in the way that most icons passing do. But the passing of Chadwick Boseman, Dr. Chadwick Boseman, immensely impacts me as a black man, but also just as an educator and a person that has worked with children a better part of his adult life. And so, as part of this, I would just like our board to open this meeting in honor of his memory. I'd like to just take a moment of silence in remembering the impact that this black man had on the lives of so many people around the planet, especially in America at this time. So if we could just take that moment of silence. Ashe. All right. Wait, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first board meeting of Bbase. Welcome members. Welcome general public. Welcome friends. And to quote Malcolm X, I believe I see some enemies. We are here as a family today to talk amongst ourselves and with you about the issue of diversity in the music industry and how it impacts our decisions and strategies as professionals of color within the audio and greater music industry. We have a lot of ground to cover today, so I just want to say hi to everybody that's on Facebook and YouTube joining us today. I am joined by my board, who is DJ Bless, Dave Hampton, Ayana Thomas, Alan Evans, not present today, but here in spirit are Alicia Farrable-Taylor, Mustafa Shakir, and Cora Thomas. But we're going to press forward. Before I get deep into what Bbase is about, I want to just first acknowledge that this is the Black and Brown Association of Sound Engineers, and that we are an organization that is here to support people of color in the audio and music industry. And we already have a lot of friends in high places, including the people on this board. But we have a special statement from a respected member of the recording community who is also a dear friend of mine, David Barron. So we're going to have David Barron join us with video message so that our viewership can hear his words. So we're going to transition to that.
My name is David Barron, and I'm a composer, producer, musician located right outside of Woodstock, New York, in Ulster County. I think your group is very needed. I just did the district advocacy for NARIS, for the Recording Academy. We do that once a year. And I know that some of you are probably NARIS members now, but I would encourage more of you. If you're not a member, please join the Recording Academy. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to the regional director, Sharon Tapper, and I'll give that information to Langston. The good thing about it, the Recording Academy, is they actually do a lot of advocacy during the year, and I can tell you that my particular group had a decided lack of diversity, and we really need to have diversity, because we're supposed to represent the whole music business, not just some tiny sliver of it. So think about joining, think about being active. There's a Facebook page which is all about activism that the Recording Academy does, and that would be fantastic too. I'm so glad that your group is existing. I think it's very, very needed. We're, even in my small studio, we're trying to have more diversity. We now have a female assistant for the first time, a woman for the first time in years, believe it or not, and a woman of color. And we have another intern also who's a woman, and that's been a journey for us too. It's hard to always fill those spots, and if you're not conscious of it, which I mean, I hate to say it, I'm not sure we always were, then you definitely don't fill those spots. And I know there's great people, all types, and all races and all genders, and recording and music should not have any boundaries between it. Anyway, I've prattled on and on. Thank you so much for this time, Langston, and good luck to y'all.
So that was a statement from David, just about the fact that the Recording Academy is aware of Base's existence. They're also interested in having dialogue with us about partnership. And as well, it is important to note that an organization like this is not alone simply because the focus is people of color. Okay? We have a lot of supporters in our community that are willing to step up and take the risk to support us and be allied. And we just want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that Base is supported not only by black and brown folks, but also by a good deal of allied people in the white community. One moment. Give me 1 second here. Just want to make sure that everybody is live and able to catch us. I know that we are live on YouTube. And people are watching us on YouTube. However, it looks like Mark Zuckerberg strikes again. I turned on our streaming engine and Facebook immediately kicked in live, so all the super secret conversations amongst the black folks went live to the FBI. Like, we know you scheduled it, but we're just going to spill the tea now. I think, let's see. Let me just double check YouTube. We just want to make sure everybody's being able to get the broadcast. Let's see. We're live on YouTube based on this.
Okay.
So are you confirmed?
Yeah.
You can see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I don't have it. That's funny.
Yeah. So let's continue forward because we have to keep this moving. We can always rebroadcast this on Facebook as a video because it's being recorded as well for the sake of documentation. We want to do an introduction about what Base is about. And I thought the best way to do that for the sake of time was to actually record something that people could relate to in ways that don't involve necessarily a live dialogue. So what I'm going to do is do a short presentation about Base, and then we can have a quick chat about that. So I'm going to play this, and we're going to learn about the history of why Base exists. The year was 1993. I joined the music industry as an engineer at the age of 16. I was a young black male, full of energy, hope, and eager to begin a rewarding career in the music business. But like many other professions and disciplines, the music and audio technology industry had a dirty little secret: racism. Most opportunities that I earned came from more than just hard work. There was always the reality that my work opportunities came primarily from people that looked like me. Rarely, if ever, was I given a chance to work in environments where I was in the minority as a person of color. And even when all the right steps were taken, I'd always hit a brick wall despite being overqualified and overcredited. I knew from experience that black and brown voices in most spaces in our industry were either non-existent or muffled under the din of exclusion. I knew I had to do something that had people of color as a focus, rather than a concession or an afterthought. When I first started Base, I wanted more than just a club for people of color in the music industry. I wanted to start a movement. The concept of a village is more nuanced than just a collection of people with mutual interests. A village is a connection to one's spirit, to one's being. I can say with certainty that this is a critical time in our nation's history, especially as people of color. We face unprecedented political unrest, an attack on our civil rights, unwarranted violence in our spirits, intellect, and yes, even on our bodies. We who so diligently have served at the pleasure of others, the darker brother in the back room, will remain indisposed no longer. Langston Hughes said, "I too am America." In numbers there is strength, so I have assembled a growing team of talented people of color. We will lead this charge to a beautiful, soft place, a nutrient-rich environment where Black and brown voices can be heard loud and clear, where their ideas can be retained, respected, and engaged, and the future generations of Black and brown sound engineers and audio professionals can call home. Our mission is simple. Our purpose is to generate fellowship among Black and brown audio professionals. We will offer employment support and professional development to our members with the intention of increasing employability for people of color who are audio professionals and those who work within the greater music industry. As well, we will continue to identify, highlight, track, and research those issues plaguing our profession as they relate to race and gender. Our goals include a more diverse pool of candidates for employment within our profession, and additionally, an increase in audio-related business opportunities for people of color in the audio industry. We know that all great things start from the root, and for this purpose, we are working diligently to partner with schools at the elementary, middle, high school, and college level to start Bbase Junior chapters. Children who have an interest in audio, technical, and music-related fields can begin pursuing their interest in the comforts of their own schools. We can begin sowing those seeds of change right now and groom future generations of innovators and trailblazers wherever they may be. Lastly, and not least, we will host trade shows that shine a spotlight on audio businesses owned by people of color, not only for the purpose of representation, but to encourage the creation of more businesses owned by Black and brown voices, to increase our footprint in the industry, and to own our narrative. I hope that you'll join us on this amazing journey. Let's build the future on a strong foundation. Join Bbase today. All right. So that was just a brief overview of why Bbase exists, what I think is driving this conversation the most in terms of our need as people of color in this particular profession, which is extremely technical and involves a high level of intellect, a lot of training, a lot of investment into one's educational background, a lot of time invested just learning the tools of the trade. But what we're going to jump into right now, just to keep things moving, is we're actually going to go into our roadmap for 2021. And share. Oh no. One moment. Share. All right. We're gonna pull that up. Okay, touch portal. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into this. All right, so we are now in PowerPoint. Hold on to your pants, kids. This is gonna get real. So we're gonna go into our slideshow now and talk about what we plan to do as Bbase. Okay, so here we go. So again, this is the Bbase Blast Off, and we're going to go over our agenda. So we've kind of touched upon our welcome and organizational overview in terms of we have a board of directors. Each of these people that you see before you today is assigned or will be assigned with a specific task or area that we feel is a great place to focus when it comes to communities of color that are interested in doing better or doing more inside the audio and music industry, especially when it comes to the technological and ownership side of it. And now we're going to get into the Bbase roadmap. And just in brief, following that, we'll have a board introduction and panel discussion. We will talk about our Bbase Bus Kit fundraiser, wink wink, because we have to raise money as a nonprofit in order to do things. And a Q&A from Facebook Live and YouTube, and our survey results. So we're going to talk about our 2020 roadmap. So one of the things that we need to do, I believe wholeheartedly as the executive director of Bbase, is we need to raise public awareness to increase the membership of this organization and to increase the opportunities for folks to become allies to our cause. I think, as I said before offline on the call previously, there are a great deal of black and brown professionals in the audio industry, but we don't know each other. Some of us do, but not a great deal of us, especially for the younger folks. And the older folks, there's a generational gap there where people who are, you know, in that last third quarter of their career, who have all the knowledge and all the experience and potentially the connections, are not connecting with the youth. And I think that that's a very lonely place to be as a new and young professional to a field like this. And we need to correct that. So that's going to be one of my goals that I'm, you know, charging the board and tasking them with, is that we need to take on efforts where we can really increase awareness among professionals of color within our industry to, you know, to bring us together. We are also working currently on establishing educational partnerships with a focus on HBCUs. I think that just based on my knowledge of how many people I know that have gone to HBCUs who then had to return and go to college again because the HBCU was a strike against them on their resume when it came to hiring opportunities. I believe that that same bias exists in the music industry, especially for people that are going into technical positions. We can't always just obsess over making music or recording bands or hip-hop acts or orchestras. There are people that are technical directors, that are lighting and audio-visual directors, and people that are trying to get into those fields and possibly even join a stagehands union and so on. And their collegiate background is being held against them, which not only is extremely discriminatory, but it's also very discouraging if you're that kid that just spent $60,000 and cannot get a job because of where you went to school, even though people with a, you know, with less education than you are getting hired without a problem. So I think we need to develop those connections and relationships with HBCUs in particular, so that people that are in our industry, that are in position, can bring those kids in, right? I think that this is immense. Let's see, professional development. Oh man, this is going to be one of the best parts of joining an organization like Bbase. My dad is a chemistry professor, and he belongs to a great deal of chemistry organizations, and they don't do stuff like this, and he always wishes they did. So part of our professional development is going to be that when people, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but when people buy this bass bus kit, they're also going to get a workshop that comes along with it that will teach them how to put the kit together. So it's going to be an introduction to basic soldering skills, along with how to populate circuit boards. And yeah, slides are showing. How to populate circuit boards and so on. And in addition to that, this winter, we're going to be giving an introduction to electronics design as a course for professional development for Bbase members. I think that one of the missing aspects of getting into design is simply somebody taking you by the hand and encouraging you to at least give it a shot and learn how to do those things. And especially as a person that has worked in a recording studio since I was 16, learning how to fix cables alone is like an invaluable skill to have. And electronics design, this is a great way to just get your beak wet with that and learn how you can begin to use those skills, and so on. Let's see, is PowerPoint giving us a hard time? All right. So what we want to do is we're actually going to hand over the conversations to focus on survey results. So I'm going to switch back over to my board. So I hope y'all still there. Everybody awake still?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. You're good.
All good, man.
And what we're going to do is review some of the things that I was able to be privy to from the survey. Again, these survey results are anonymous, so I will not say who said what or why. But one of the things that constantly occurred in the survey results was the aspect of fear of repercussions as a black and brown professional in the music industry if you ever spoke out about being discriminated against. So, for example, even though you're not getting a job in the first place, telling people that you're being discriminated against guarantees you never will. Guarantees you never will be perceived as one of the good ones to work with, despite your talent set. That was a recurring thing that it was ingrained in the answers that I was seeing. Was people had fear of potential workplace retaliation or profession retaliation in the industry because of race. Another one was addressing, we have all these audio schools that, students enroll in now and spend lots of money. I won't name names, but there's a lot of audio technical schools that at the collegiate level that, people put a lot of money into. And one of the stories I saw was a individual, was a person of color who was receiving all these awards for academic achievement in their school, and exceeded the number of awards of a white predecessor. So this person actually broke a record, and there was all these newsletters and things like that were given out to celebrate this person. This is actually what attracted this individual to their school. And when this person accomplished it, they were not given any acknowledgement for any of the accolades that they completed for academic success, along with audio prowess and technical skill, just completely overlooked by the institution, right? I mean, people joke about things like participation trophies, but just acknowledging the impact of somebody academically or professionally. Those are very consistent themes. And in addition to that, we also had some responses from some allies talking about how they've witnessed a lot of racism against black and brown men and women in the industry. So those are just some things to preface when we get to our panel conversation. But I'm actually going to hand this over to our wonderful moderator, Ayana Thomas, who is going to give us the... No. I'm sorry. I couldn't see. I think I need glasses. We're actually going to cover our survey numbers. Yep, I got the look, y'all. I'm in trouble. So we're actually going to cover our survey numbers. So if PowerPoint will just grace us one more time with from current slide. Okay. So we will go to this, and then let me get out of here, and then we'll switch back over to our stats. Okay. So F5, I believe. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into our survey results. Very quickly, do you feel your race negatively affects your ability to gain employment in the audio industry? Responses. No was 57%. Yes was 43%. So there's some division there. This survey was also taken by a good mix of people. It wasn't just specifically people of color. So this was not necessarily an indicator that people don't believe it happens. It's just that the number of folks that took this survey, a good number of them were people who were non-people of color. They were allies. Are you interested in starting your own audio industry business, such as a recording studio, audio technology company, live sound venue, or live sound company? All money-making parts of the business. Pre-corona, we're talking about $1 billion industry, just live sound and events alone. And overwhelmingly, the response was 93% for a yes, with only a few folks saying no at 7%. So that's very promising, because we do need more people owning businesses and contributing to their economy, as well as offering opportunity. Do you feel that the audio industry is a welcoming environment for people of color? So our answer was 86% said no, and yes was 14%. So here's one of those deep sigh of frustration and consternation. Even in this small limited survey pool, overwhelmingly, nearly 90% of the participants feel that people of color are not welcomed into the audio industry, music industry / music industry, and yet this is an industry that was born in our backs. So it's just really insightful to see that, even, because this is, again, the same people that were answering, does your race negatively impact you, yes or no, are still also saying we feel that people of color are not welcomed into this field. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel your race factors into job opportunities in the audio industry? So the breakdown was, 10 being the most that it's impacting you the most by race. So at 1, at the very bottom of the scale, so it affects you the least, we had 15%. Next up on there, we had 12% answering 4, so close to the median. At 8, on scale of 1 to 10, at 8, we had 30% said 8, 28% said 9, and 15% said 10. So if you sum those results together, you got what, 43? We have 73% of these participants, right? Is that good math? Yes. 73% of our participants believe that race factors into their job opportunities, right? Now, this is a merger of white and people of color, right? So the majority of these people all know what's up when it comes to this industry and the hiring practices therein. So we're going to get into Q&A now, and I've introduced her like 15 different times. But Ayana Thomas is actually going to for real take over the call now.
I'll try.
So Ayana, I'm gonna hand this over to you and take us away.
Hello, everyone. As Langston said, my name is Ayana Thomas, and I am the president of Bbase. Workplace discrimination is real, and I've definitely faced my own challenges as a woman of color when trying to make efforts to be upwardly mobile in a technology-based field. While there are some opportunities for Black and brown folks to get in the game, I know and understand firsthand that the infrastructure and framework of our professions still contains some toxic realities that keep majority of qualified professionals from obtaining their goals of employment and advancement. During this panel discussion, we are asking our board members to answer some of these questions from our Bbase membership survey to address those realities. So let's jump right into the questions to the board. I'll give each board member 90 seconds to respond to each question. We will start with introductions of each board members, and then we will go into the first question. So Dave, can you kick us off with your introduction?
Hi, I'm Dave Hampton. I'm a 40-plus year veteran of the audio industry. I've done everything from, as Langston mentioned earlier on our private conversation, program missile guidance systems and work on electronics for war, as well as make drum machine synthesizers for the industry, as well as do a lot of private engineering and custom work for a lot of musicians that I still do to this day. And that's it. I've written four books, currently working on my 5th. Wow. And I manufacture speakers and studio solutions under the name Reftone. So that's me in a nutshell. And there's more, but I don't want to use up my 90.
It's okay. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Bless, you want to introduce yourself?
Yo, what's good? I go by the name of DJ Bless, aka Sutter Kane. Most of y'all know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Multi-platinum producer, filmmaker, scorer, all around lovely guy. You know what I'm saying? Worked on tons of projects. I mean, you could throw a rock. 9 times out of 10, I produced them. I created a genre called ghetto metal. I am the founder of it. And the one who created the whole sound of it. Blew up big in Eastern Europe. Attack the States, and a ton, like, for real. Like, we can go on for my discography is gonna be more than 90 seconds, so I was gonna give you the back of the movie when you go to the video thing and look at it. So long story short, right now I'm heavy into engineering, mixing, mastering, and producing. Run my own record label. It's very successful. Now I'm in the film industry. I just did Righteous Gemstones for HBO. We're working on the 2nd season of that with the music and acting in the 2nd season. Halloween. ton of other independent projects I'm working on, and releasing my own music and stuff, for real. So yeah, I'm here to support and tell the truth about what's going on in this industry and how we need to control this industry. Something that we've built. We've built this industry, so there's no way we should be able to give this power to someone else who didn't build it. I look at it as these people who control at this moment are just investors. But if you invest in yourself, then you control the power again. So that's just my introduction to what we're doing.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Alan?
All right. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Al Evans here. I've been playing music my entire life, and literally my entire life. I've been on the road since I was about 14 years old. Most notably known as the drummer of a band called Soul Live, but I'm also a songwriter, guitarist, bassist, keyboardist, drummer, and engineer, producer, father, and just honored to be alongside all of you, and we're going to bring some change to this industry that has been needed for a long time. So I'm very excited.
We're excited to have all of you guys. Last but not least is Langston. Can you give us a brief introduction?
My name is Langston Masingale, and I make boxes. No, I own...
You're a Nigerian priest on weekends.
Yeah, I will be very soon because I'm about to go get some jollof rice. But no, I own a company with my business partner Todd Levine called Handsome Audio, which is the home and birthplace of Zulu, which is the world's first passive analog tape simulator. I also am the executive director of this organization, Bbase, and I'm also CEO of a new company called Narrative Audio Technologies, which is a company that is designed to be a business incubator for new Black and brown technology companies. I have formed that organization with my partner, who is in my bottom right corner, and I'm just glad to be here among everybody here. I think this is a great meeting of minds. My inspiration for Bbase is the picture A Great Day in Harlem. I've always wanted to just have those moments where Black and brown folks can just get together and be united in their genius and in their root of doing what they love. And I think that that's even more prevalent in this part of the industry. So I'm going to be well under 90 seconds, and I'm going to hand the rock back over to Ayana, who needs to still introduce what she does, since you're being nice and polite, but you need to toot your horn, sis, because the sisters need to know what time it is on this call.
Yes, as Langston said, I am the COO of our new company, Nat, and I also am the president of our technology STEAM company called eSteam. And during the day, I work from 9 to 5. I am the IT executive for a major entertainment company that a lot of people work with. So I'm trying to, with Bbase, make sure that, like Langston said, all the sisters know that we are there together. We are there to kind of take over this industry as well. And we need the fellas to kind of help us do that. So with that being said, I want to get into the first questions just to keep everything rolling. The first question that we have from our survey is, do you feel that racial issues in society and the music industry limit the scope, genre, artists, and label eligible for you to collaborate with? So I don't know who wants to take that first.
I'm reading the question again. You gonna go first?
I gotta think about that for a second.
I know
That's a huge question. I'll go first just because again, as the oldest, I'm several decades
OG
in this
Uncle Dave
question. It's a reality that there are two different lanes. How long you choose to hang out in that reality is up to you. as an independent professional. So for me, I made my decisions real quick as to what I wanted to do when I left defense electronics and went towards music. It was at a severe reduction in money. But I took that in stride and headed for it because I really felt that this was more life affirming and it was something I had to do. I realized that not everybody was ready for my rapping of intelligence wrapped inside of a black man. So I had to dial it back because I was in fact the only one in the room. So, but that was a survival technique because you're more beneficial in the room than you are out of the room. So I learned to play the game, as it were, by just picking and choosing my battles wisely until I got enough influence, power, and position behind me to then transition how I play the game. And so that's a way that I choose to answer the question. Now, you guys are much younger. You've gone through a lot more situations that are all, we could all say all the different things we've seen, witnessed, and been through. But the reality is, as a survivor of it, I developed some things that taught me how to recognize it, taught me how to steer away from it and go around it. And then just because of my entrepreneurial independent nature, I couldn't stand to not be the driver of my car.
I'm with him on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how it can hinder you if you own it and you control it.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Unless you give them that type of power. Now, if you're under their wing or their investment, then I'm pretty sure it's gonna harm you. But if you're the controller of what you do, then there's no way. You get what I'm saying? Plus, if it's your music, your way, and how you do it, you are the creator of the music. So how in the world can an outsider tell you? You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll make it hard. There's no way and stuff. Unless, like I said, unless you're under their wing and stuff. But if you control what you do, then no way and stuff. You feel what I'm saying? And you stand by what you do. That's the whole point.
That's it. And before I could control my own way, I had to work up a ladder to be able to get to that point. But
yeah,
the minute I started, so I understand the fullness of that question, but I've lived 75% of that.
Yeah, there you go. And stuff. So now you're eating the fruits of your labor. I agree.
Right. Well, I'm not only eating the fruits of my labor, a call like this is supposed to be happening now during my lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to understand, I sacrificed what I did because none of you guys were around.
Yeah.
And I just been waiting. So
Appreciate
Right.
so on a personal level, thank you. But you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I could very well say, oh, well, I didn't pay any attention to it. I just knew what I wanted to do. And answer it as an individual. But what you're looking for is an experiential thing, and we all have different experiences as we drive through this thing called racism and being black in America. That's the reality. You know.
No, I totally agree. I think like this too. I think, like I said, if you own the company, you produce the record, you put out the record, then you are the controller of the record. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the whole point is that you are the artist, you are the one. So whoever has a problem with that, that's their personal issue. So as long as you have your base and your fans and who support you, all the outside stuff don't even matter, to be honest with you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, honestly, you learn a lot. I can tell you guys this: you learn a lot from the racist ways that the industry has. And so I've used the racist ways to my advantage. I've used them to get work. I've used them to I've learned how to deflect and really understand what's coming at me and head, in a total another direction. When I started making products, I learned so much from my manufacturing days that when I finally decided to make a product, I broke it overseas at a trade show. Where it was just a product and it wasn't related to me.
Yeah.
Everybody here knew me as the technician and as the person who can figure it out and do that. I wanted nothing to do with that. My story didn't need to go with the product. The product just needed to be introduced as a product.
Mm-hmm.
When we did that, we got 9 countries out the gate.
Wow.
But I learned back when I first started working for the white man at Oberheim, how to just develop products and make products and sell products on a large scale, being one of the cogs in the wheel. And so when I subsequently did it and did it on my own, I chose to do it a different way, knowing that I had to add racism into the formula. I had to add disenfranchisement into the formula. I had to add those elements that only existed in my lane, that they didn't know anything about, in order to survive. And so for each one of you, again, the answer is going to be a personal reflection on how you got as far as you did as an individual, but it's also going to be a fullness answer in how you put your individual thoughts aside and made a choice that was bigger than what you thought in the first place. Because it's always bigger than us. It's never about us. Just person.
No, you're right. You're right. So thank you definitely for that information. I don't know if Langston or Alan wants to add anything to that, or if DJ Bless, if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, the whole point is that if
go ahead.
you go ahead, Langston. Go ahead. I'm saying
ahead,
the whole
Bless.
point is that when to leave the trailers to show the leadership, to show that you wasn't, you know what I'm saying, like you defied the odds and wasn't scared. So that's the whole point. See, what happens is with this industry is you could take a guy, I'm gonna be so real with you, you could take a rapper, engineer, producer, and what they'll do is they'll give him everything. So when they give him everything, he is now loyal to them to where he can only go to a certain limit. He'll never defy that limit. You get what I'm saying? Like, he knows better. But when you got a guy who defies the limit and shows, okay, there is no limit, you are the creator of the sound, whatever you do music-wise, this is what you do, then all of it just comes to you. Meaning, like, even those who hate you will figure out a way to just, like, you get what I'm trying to say? They can't touch you. They can't touch you to harm you, but at the same time, they ain't gonna, like, do nothing to destroy you. Like, you feel what I'm saying? You're too big. You're too powerful. So that's how I look at it, is that you don't give them that type of control to have that racial thing going on within the industry. Like, you don't give them that power.
Right.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I'll add is that, a lot of times it's very difficult as a person of color to differentiate yourself away from what other people are comfortable with describing you as, right? So a lot of times, when I say things like, well, I don't just work on hip-hop music, or I don't work on hip-hop music, or I've done more with heavy metal and rock and roll and jazz than I have with rap music in the majority of my career. It's not because I don't have a love for hip-hop music. I'm a product of that generation, and everything I do is influenced by that. Like I made Zulu because of my affinity for the sound of hip-hop music and things like Public Enemy and the Beastie Boys, right? And shout out to Hank Shockley, by the way. And the thing that I think is very unique is that when you're a person of color, what other people, let's say like folks that are not people of color, who are not an ally of yours, they automatically put you into a category that they're comfortable with as a way to define you and instantly your skill set. So even if you are a black person who is trained to record classical music, you can record a 20-chair violin section like I was. I can record an orchestra, right? When you're freelancing or you're applying to be a freelancer, let's be real, like just you have to apply to be a freelancer. They'll be like, oh, we don't do hip-hop sessions here. I'm like, well, do you know how to record an orchestra? Do you know how to record a jazz band? Or they know how to record rock, but they might not even have your skill set, but they've already attributed you to, in my particular case, like I'm a black person, that's how I identify. They automatically align me with, which in many ways, which it shouldn't be, is the lowest predilection in their mind of what black people are as music professionals. So for them, hip hop is a low thing. It's not a highly skilled type of practice. It's a low thing. So they associate you with, you make hip hop music, or you make, this old timey stuff or whatever that we don't feel is pertinent or relevant to our business practices without even knowing you, simply because of how you look. And it's attributed to racism, of course, but professionally, now you have to separate yourself from your culture in a sense, just so people will be like, oh, you can record rock music. Like, it's very frustrating. Like, you almost have to denounce to a degree what you are just for people to see what else you are. There's a psychosis in that. And so that's very challenging, because I think it is true. Like, I've done a lot of work as a front of house engineer, and you work on anything that comes your way if you work in a small theater. You don't get to pick the bands. And every time, the band's like, oh, you know how to work with drums? There's no hip hop acts tonight. They don't even ask you, how are you doing, before they've already made a decision about you. And it is frustrating, but I think that is a door that gets slammed in our face a lot as people of color. Like, they just automatically assume your skill set is limited to one particular thing that they feel people like you do, right? Or looking at a woman of color and assuming that she only records singers. That's another one, right? Or she only is a songwriter. She's not an engineer. Not that there's anything wrong with writing songs, but women get thrown into that box a lot too. And I think that that's a real problem, but I think that's more so about education and opportunity as well. I think that because we keep going through the same channels for opportunity, you're going to keep meeting the same biases, because there's the educational piece that's not happening. What is happening instead is a reinforcement of bias.
No, you're right, Langston. You have a wealth of knowledge and a lot in this area, and we definitely appreciate it. And I thank you guys for your response to the first question. So now we're going to move on to the second question, which is, what are some ways our allies, a non-person of color, can help to improve the overall opportunity and environment for people of color in this industry?
I say support what we do. So meaning, like, if we put a record out, we put an album out, support it. If we're gonna open up a live company, support it. That's basically what it is. Support it. You feel what I'm trying to say? Like, money talks. So it's like, support it. So it's basically like, whatever we're gonna do, support it. You know what I'm saying? As long as you like what we do. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's the whole point to this whole thing, is we gotta stop giving them so much power. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, stop looking at their approval for shit. It's like, I'm sorry for cursing, but like, we gotta take back what we started. Like, okay, we gotta take back what we started. That's the whole point. Like, how could you create something, give the power to somebody else, and tell that person who didn't even create it, hey man, can I do this? Like, get out of here. No way. It's like, yo, it's ours. Take it back, put stuff out, and control it by educating yourself. If you gotta be the spook who sat by the door to learn the thing, learn it, and then after you learn it, then go for it. You feel what I'm saying? So that's how you gotta do it. You can't, they'll never like you. I'm gonna be real with you. They'll never like you. They'll never look at you as an equal. The only thing is gotta be money and power and knowledge. So once you got the knowledge, you get the power, you know what I'm saying? Power, money, and then you move on. But if you're gonna sit there and be like, hey, Mr. White man, can you please hire me and help me out? Come on, he's not. He's never. He's only gonna put you at a certain level, and that's it. He'll put his son higher than you. You feel what I'm saying? Who has nothing, and he'll put his son higher than you, has no knowledge, and so teach him. And matter of fact, you will be the one teaching him. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, nah, yo, you gotta own what you do and believe in what you do and reinvest in what you do, no matter how big, small, medium, or little it is. If you believe in it and you think you can do it, then reinvest in it and go forward.
Well, I just want to jump in on that point. One example that comes to mind about what are things that people can do that are not people of color, because I got that question a lot when I first started canvassing for membership for Bbase, was folks who were not of color were saying, well, I'm not black, or I'm not Latino, or Latinx, or, and what kind of place would I have in an organization like yours? And I asked them, I said, well, do you believe in the advancement of people of color in this industry? Do you believe that there are black and brown professionals who are not being given their fair shake when it comes to hiring, when it comes to being supported, when it comes to being given any kind of first looks? And they said, of course, I've seen it all the time. I said, well, then you need to be with us.
Speak up.
Well, you need to, not only that, but there are plenty of black organizations in the history of America that had white supporters, right? Civil rights movement had plenty of white folks backing it, losing their lives for the advancement of colored people in America. I know that we see a lot of black faces, but a lot of times, even with the Freedom Riders, there were white men and women who were being harassed, in some cases killed, and they died for our cause. And I think that there are actually more people than we we know who support us. And I think that one of the things that they can do is, it's kind of like some people only listen to certain people about certain things. It's like that episode of Sanford and Son, where Red Fox only wanted the Jewish doctor.
Yeah.
He didn't want the black doctor. He's like, I need a Jewish doctor, because he felt that was where the smartness lay, was in that particular person's expertise, and because of their ethnicity. And I think that in a lot of situations, hearing things about equity and bias from a person that's white to a white person is actually more impactful than hearing it from us, because we just become the complainer. We just become the bitter, the bitter Betty or the bitter Billy, or the angry black woman or black man, or the upset Latino, who's always got something to complain about. Well, they did this to me again at work, and people are like, we're always hearing you complain. I think that our allies can actually be like this, like an enforcement of our beliefs, because we have to recognize that some of those, a good chunk of those beliefs are their beliefs too. Mm-hmm. And we need to give them the support that they need to feel brave, so that, like how we have in my family, we had a thing that said nobody fights alone, right? We have to give these people the support they need, so that they don't feel like they're the only white guy on the block or the only white lady sticking up for the rights of black and brown people, and that we're not going to show up and give them support when they stick their necks out, because it's not enough just to say you go talk to your people. It's like they need support and backing too. So I think they need to speak up, but they also need to be like that person says, you know what, Vintage League Music is a black owned record label. Never So Deep is a black owned record label, or a black and brown owned record label. Or Reftone is owned by a black and brown man and woman team, right? I'm gonna buy a pair today. And what do you know? Gosh golly, wow, these are great speakers. That's great music that Alan produced. That's great music that Bless has. That's great products that Ayana's company is putting out. Actually take that first step and put it out there and say these things, right? The Black Lives Matter movement after the George Floyd protests took on momentum through the hands, in addition to us, but it took momentum through the hands of white kids. They went in. And just like websites like reverb.com, I mean, when you went there, it was all Black Lives Matter. They made an impact on people. If you wanted to buy something, I mean, think about that. You had to go past that just to get to the part where you could buy something. And they made that a point. They coded it that way. And I think that people need to keep stepping forward and making those moves to really make an impact on this, because we cannot do this alone. We need to do it internally, but we cannot do it alone. We need the support of others. In their own special way, with us in a leading position,
You're right.
Oh, sorry, Ayana, go ahead.
No, I was going to see if you wanted to add anything to that, Alan.
Well, it kind of goes back to a conversation that Langston and I had maybe a couple of weeks ago, and he brought up, I'm not going to name any names, okay, but he brought up a group that a lot of people know, and a producer that a lot of people know. And they work together. Now, the funny thing is, Langston immediately said, dude, why aren't these cats working with you? Mm-hmm. I said, man, they know where to, and the funny thing is, this group always hits me up saying, yo, man, that record you just put out is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like, but why? Like, I was like, they know where to find me. You know what I mean? But they don't. It's like cats have been trained, or kind of trained to, like, well, you're putting this kind of money into an album. Well,
right.
What I'm saying? Like, well, we need to go to this person because there's this much invested into it. I can't, do the job. Of course, I'll wreck the job. I'll kill it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But the thing is, these conversations. But the thing is, and a lot of it is kind of what Langston said, going back to George Floyd, and that situation has helped bring the prominence of Black Lives Matter and these conversations to the front. Right. So before, it's like this kind of goes back to an earlier conversation we had, but it ties in. it's kind of hard to. A lot of times we don't want to complain. Stir the pot. Whatever you want to say. Because all of a sudden you're the angry black person, or like, oh man, like so you remain silent. People they're like, oh, they're cool. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to get allies when people didn't even know they needed to be an ally in the first place.
Right.
I like to add on to that too.
Well, I want to add something too. There's a fine line between cool,
that's right,
and controllable.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for me, I've had to practice cool for many years, except that in my latter years, it's definite I'm not controllable. So it's good. You give some to get some. You choose your battles wisely. You become you don't ever escape being the angry black man if you're truly a black man.
I wouldn't even care.
I knew you would
care.
Let me tell you something.
I wouldn't even care.
You're gonna need that edge as you get older.
Yeah.
To keep you relevant. I stay around young people a lot so I can hear new and interesting ways to look at things, because everybody my age has quit. They've stopped reflecting, they've stopped producing, and I have to keep around the youth of what's happening, because with youth is change. Yeah. And change is good, but change comes in steps. And so part of an answer to the question, I had typed it in, is empathy is needed on the part of people who are non-persons of color. But action is needed by these people too. And so the opportunity for them to have action is not always going to be when we want it. It's going to be when it's safe for them to engage, because they have a totally different thing that they live by. And so you can't always do that. I had a friend who was a technician, and I went to college with him. We both studied the same music stuff. We both got out there. He was a tech, I was a tech, but he was white, I was black. And so we worked together. I called him. I had a big job. I said, I need you to go in this room. I need you to take this thing and sit at this table and just head the meeting. Don't say a word. Just going to be in here, and I'm going to be right next to you, and I'm not going to say a word, but you're going to be the lead. And I hired him for an hour. He came in, sat in the meeting, did just what I said. He said, why'd you do that? This is everything you know how to do. I said, they needed to see you there in the role that I just had you play. And then I can get my money and do my job.
Exactly. Be the front man.
Because there's a time and place to exercise the freedom to try and make a statement, and then there's a time and place to play chess and say, well, you know what, that statement is better made by successful action than it is a protest or a this or that. It's very subtle in when you can make decisions and really affect change, or just affect change for the moment, because this isn't about a flash camera opportunity. It's about everything's on the line when we stand next to somebody. When they choose to stand next to us, they're going to come back to the place to work tomorrow. You know? So, and again, maybe my answers are coming from somebody who's an independent. So I don't have that structure of like DJ Bless was saying, of just waiting around for approval. And you know, when the industry changed to Pro Tools, I used to laugh when they would say, well, you know, we got programs where you get Pro Tools certified. I said, well, if I got $8,000, I'm already certified.
You know what I'm saying? I need to stamp with approval. What you telling me? You know? No, I totally agree. Like I said,
so you know, it's that kind of thing. But you know,
like I said, I wanted to add to that. It's the whole point of, like, with me, my fan base of who buy my records, who's been supporting me for the past 15 to 20 years is white. My fan base is 98 to 99% white. I'm still black though. I still talk black, still act black, still do black. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't be like, oh man, you know, my fan base is white. I don't think I should be saying, man, get out of here. Yeah, right. The whole point is you understand, yo. When you are the creator of the music that they listen to, they want to be you. You get what I'm trying to say? That's the whole point. They dress like you, they act like you, they talk like they want to be you. So why would you change you?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. You get what I'm saying? They want to be you and stuff. They can't, come on. They totally want to carbon copy you. So the whole point is you sell them the dream. You feel what I'm saying? You sell them the whole dream. You sell them the complete dream. You know what I'm saying? And then call it a day, but you control it though. See, there's a difference between selling the dream and then you have to go talk to the person who's going to put out the dream. There's a total difference. You sell the dream, you own the dream, you collect the dream, and you speak the same way you've been speaking. They respect you way more. Let me tell you something. They'll respect a black man before they respect the coon. Okay, so let's get that straight now, completely and stuff, y'all. If you do that coonish ways, they don't respect you, bro. You think they do, but they don't respect you. You feel what I'm saying? And the whole point is, who cares if they respect? The whole point is get your money, do what you got to do, build your brand, and move forward.
Right. Stay true to yourself.
That's the whole point and stuff, for real.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to question number 3. So how can Black and Brown and audio engineers organize so that we are equally considered for employment opportunities within our industry?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Can I go first? This is something that burns a hole in my brain all the time, because this entire dialogue that we've had, right? And Dave, I'm sure you can acknowledge this, is the reason why we have these dialogues about how we have to conduct ourselves in this profession is because we don't own the store, right? We don't own the road. We don't own the gas station. We use them, right? We are, like one of the things I often say to kids is like, we need to learn how to be a body that people transact with rather than just being a transaction for somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go into a store and you buy a piece of equipment, you just gave them cash, you took the goods, and you walk away. You're not a force. But if you're a business, if you're an entity, if you're an organization, you can leverage price. You can leverage opportunity. You can leverage sponsorship. You can leverage buy-in because you have power and strength in numbers. So when it comes to organizing, the question is, how can we organize? Well, you need an organization. So I'm going to stump from my own dream, which I think is everybody else's dream on this call. You need to join Bbase. That's number one.
Right.
We cannot be organized if we're all individuals and separated. We have to come under a banner. We cannot try to say, well, I'm going to go talk to the people and see what they got to say. Well, you go in there by yourself. Like, we've all seen the Malcolm X movie. We all love Denzel Washington. We all remember when the brother was laid up in the jail after the cops beat him up and the Muslims showed up. The Nation of Islam showed up in force. They were all dressed the same. And they were like, like the old Public Enemy videos. They all, did a quarter turn on a dime. And the police like, oh, my Lord. And the brother got seen. They were able to wield that strength in numbers. And that's always made an impact on me, is that what's missing for us is simply acknowledging that we need to be organized and then going and doing it. It's not just about how. It's like, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. Somebody needs to step up, right? I don't have an artist-based music career anymore. Okay, like, I'm not trying to get a record deal right now. So I'm not worried about somebody putting out my album. I'm not worried about if I get on the cover of somebody's magazine, because those magazines aren't about my voice anyways, right? We all know that. We don't see people that do what we do at the level we do it at being celebrated. They'll celebrate somebody that used to carry out drumsticks, right, Alan? You know what I'm saying? Like, before they give us the props, I'm like, well, I taught the man that's behind the man behind the other man. And you still talking about him instead of me. So I think what we need to do is we need to own the full process. Like, right? Like, I own 2 manufacturing companies right now, right? You know what my next step is? Is to spawn what I do with other people, like Dave Hampton, like the brother that makes the SA-25, okay? The new speaker company, he's brilliant. There's another brother down in New York City that makes automated mixers that are rack mounted, right? I want to get all of these brothers and sisters together. Dave told me about Dogman pedals. They're amazing. We're going to get together some way, shape, or form. If it's not those specific people, somebody. And we're going to form our own conglomerate, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our own distribution network, right? We're going to make our own underground railroad. Because look at all these stores. They all started with like 4 or 5 brands. We don't need to get 50 brands. If I don't carry Sennheiser, so what? You can go to somebody else for that. But you're only going to go to one place to get Handsome Audio. You're only going to go to one place to get Narrative Audio. You're only going to go to one place to get Never So Deep Records or Vintage League Music. You're not going to be able to undercut us. And if we stick together and stay on code, that's how you build infrastructure to the point where now people have to acknowledge that you have something. right? Every several months, people come to me and say, we want to utilize your technology, right? But they don't want to utilize me. Do you get what I'm saying? They don't want to put me in the front so that they can be seen doing business with a black man. They just want my gifts. And I think that in order for us to be organized, we have to sacrifice some of that. I need to be celebrated as myself by these people, and start looking at, if we do it together, we'll have way more to benefit from than simply just, like that plantation mentality where you get a check, but y'all don't.
No, you're right.
We all need to eat together.
You're right. I think DJ Bless wanted to add something to that.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely what you said. I think it's the sharing of knowledge, man. The whole point is, if you've been there and done that, then it's like you share the knowledge and trickle it down. And the whole point is with clientele too, speaking from like an engineer, producer perspective, is your clientele. Like your client, like you got to be the best at what you do and really love what you do. And when you're the best at what you do, your clients will automatically tell the next person, the next person, and the next person. You feel what I'm saying? Like completely. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, that's the entire resume for me has always been word of mouth. That's why I don't use
me too. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, same here. It's word of mouth.
Always been word of mouth, because word of mouth was before I started my career, before the internet. I started before cell phones.
Yep, see?
And so I got my reputation on the other side of the block, servicing the community that nobody would come to.
Right.
And once I serviced enough people, then time and everything else hung on, and name and reputation hung on. I eventually went to the other side of Wilshire Boulevard and started in the real deal. And I would bring that knowledge that I experienced in the industry back to the other side of town where nobody would go. Now everybody goes to that side of town because that's where the mattress money is. But I cut my teeth on mattress money in the communities that nobody would serve. Not only the black communities, but I did the Samoan communities. I did, you name it. I did every disenfranchised community that needed audio services. Right. Because that was the name of the game. And sometimes what we do is, it's not going to be pretty. Some of the victories and some of the projects I do aren't pretty, but they're thorough. And they're done, and they're completed, and they're paid for. And could I have made more if I was white? Probably. But I'm okay. I'm not hurting. I'm
white,
still alive and still contributing. You know what I mean?
I put it this way: if I was white, I rule the world. I had this whole world in my knees. Yo, for real. I know how they think. I know how they operate. I know what they do. Are you kidding me? And stuff, yo. Like, talk about white privilege. I'll be the poster boy for white privilege. Like, for real.
Yeah, I mean, there's that piece of it, but then also, I have a unique situation, just like Dave does, where like we've done doing the music recording and audio engineering thing. And, like I keep trying to tell brothers and sisters, like, manufacturing something, if you do it right and you got something good, is lucrative.
It is.
It's better than engineering and I miss engineering. I love recording musicians and doing sessions and all that stuff. Those are like the highlights of my adult life. But manufacturing is keeping the lights on in my house and paying the bills and putting my daughters through college. For real, with some change to spare. And I think that in terms of engineering, I want to talk to Alan, because Alan and I both share a unique background in terms of being from upstate New York. And so upstate New York has its own homebrew brand of racism and exclusion that's different than the Deep South or you know what I'm saying, or the West Coast. But I want to hear from Alan about some of the experiences you had as a younger engineer or younger musician trying to get into engineering, because this question really speaks to getting a start in the game, not just what you do when you're in the middle and you're already in the door, but you're trying to get it, because that's where we struggle at the most, is getting in the door just to learn. So I want to hear from Brother Allen about that.
Oh man, I started, like I said, I started playing out in clubs, and then also engineering like in the mid to late 80s. So specifically speaking on studios, because it was easy for me to get a gig playing music,
Buffalo, New York, right?
Yeah, Buffalo, New York. That was easy, But the funny thing is, when I showed up, interest in recording, or it came to me, I'd go back to the same studios that I was paying to record in, and nobody wanted to mess with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're glad to take my money, take my band's money, but no one would mess with me. And that's kind of when I realized, it's like, well, you know, the recording studios, especially back in the 80s, you know, coming out of the 70s, Dave, you know this very well, that represented a great sum of money investment. It wasn't like it is today, where everybody can record. You know, that wasn't the case back then. So of course they weren't gonna let a young black person come into the studio and put their hands on that equipment, put their hands on that money. You know what I'm saying? So it was tough, man. And then at that point, I just realized that, well, I just got to do it on my own. You know, I have to do it myself. And unfortunately, I stopped looking around, you know, and it wasn't until I moved to New York City and got up, you know, with some good friends of mine who are dear friends of mine, you know, I'm friends to this day, Kirk Yano being one of them, you know,
I know Kirk Yano.
Yeah, man, you know Kirk.
Yeah, I know Kirk Yano. Yeah, I've looked at his studio a couple times.
Yeah, man, exactly, man. So, you know, like, you know, it was tough, man. But I mean, I wish that it would have been easy. I know it's still not easy, you know, for us, you know, because again, to me, man, as soon as I put it together, it's like, man, there's a large investment into this building, and these dudes didn't want, you know, me to be around it, you know, so I just had to build myself.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important about what you just shared is that, you know, the fact that you had the guts to even ask them for a place, or even confront them with the thing of seeking an opportunity. Well, so, you know, that's something in itself, because for me, transitionally on the West Coast, because I came with a technical background, I just went to the studios, and I went to the same recording studios that they'll have a parking spot for me today. And they didn't have any time of day for me, and I was just there to fix the gear, right? But it wasn't until I got a company name on a shirt and came during the day to show the people who were renting the studio how to program the drum machine or how to program the synthesizer, that I became relevant to them remember me after hours. I always had to wear my shirt, even if I came after hours. But it was this philosophy of I gotta keep on, but I gotta figure out my way, and eventually you figure out your way, you know. And I think that's, but it just speaks volumes so that people understand that even when you're around it and you're participating in the system, you're bringing them money for your bands, and they'll take the money, but they won't take you. Then you know that's their personal prejudice, that's their limitation. You got to keep it moving, even if there's not a lot. It means you're gonna have to, you know, eventually you're gonna go to New York and you're gonna find who you find, because that's what was meant to happen.
Right.
Our journey is always gonna be longer, and we got to be set for that. Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's not fair that birds eat worms, but they do it every fucking day. Excuse my French.
No, I agree.
But we gotta understand it. It's not about even the things that I did in the past. I shouldn't have to do them, but I still have to do a modified version of them if I step someplace where I'm not a familiar creature. And the older I get, I have to step even a different way, because I'm no longer from youth culture. So I got a double thing coming against me. I'm a person of color, a person with knowledge, a person with more experience, and I'm older.
Yeah, I can dig it. Yeah,
you know, so it's always something, but you got to pick and choose your battles. You know?
Yeah,
you do. So I would love to keep this conversation going, but we're running out of time here. But I wanted to make sure that everyone got a chance to give their final remarks and make sure you include kind of what you are going to do to support the overall mission of Bbase, because this is the main purpose of this overall call.
Continue to put out dope music and continue to spread the word, and be at these meetings and represent. That's the best way you can do it. You put out the dope work, it'll represent like itself. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like what he said, word of mouth and just your work. You got to be the master of your work. Like, you feel what I'm saying? You got to be the best at what you do and stuff. And that's how you represent the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Because they say if he's the best, then I want to see everybody else. Like, you feel what I'm saying? So that's how it works.
Pave the way.
And you have to pave the way and stuff. There's no, you know what I'm saying? You have to. And the whole point, once again, I know I sound like a broken record, you got to pave the way when we are the ones who created it. That's the whole point I keep on getting to. It's like they didn't create it. You get what I'm trying to say? So they don't have the formula. They just have the investment. That's where the lines were blurred at, the investment money. Because like you said, back in your days, there's no internet, no cell phone, no none of that. So you had, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember paying $1,000 for studio time, like $500 to $1,000 a mix. You know what I'm saying? Just to go get my one song mixed. So it's like, you know, people, you know, you had to get investors. So that's where they had the control at. So I feel like now, with everything being affordable, everything being at the tip of your fingers, you just got to be the best at what you do, and like you said, to spread the word and pave the way.
Yeah.
That's, man, I really couldn't say it better. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you gotta do. Let the work speak for itself, man. And just represent it to the fullest and everything. You know, be who you are and everything. That's how I look at it completely.
One thing I will add to that is one of the inspirations for this organization itself is NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, that was started in 1976 by 6 young black men who were basically freshly graduated, freshly minted from college, from Chicago?
Yes,
from
Chicago.
Purdue.
Chicago.
Yep. Right. And this organization was founded in 1976. To this day, still has well over 16,000 members globally, and is an organization that was founded to encourage and instill hope and respect for the field and pursuit of engineering, civil engineering, electronics, IT, etc., etc., but back in 1976 for black students. And the reason being is because a lot of black students were dropping out of school that were pursuing these degrees, and they had to figure out a way to encourage them. So the reason why I mentioned NSBE is because it started with 6 men, right, who just had this idea. They were college students. They didn't even have jobs and high-level positions in corporate America. They had an idea, okay? That organization gave Ayana her first job through a job fair that they held, right? A black man. From what organization? Where was he at? Where did he work?
It was at Merck. Merck is a pharmaceutical company.
Merck Pharmaceutical. So a black representative went to a NSBE conference.
Yep, right on the spot.
Right? NSBE conference, right? So you have to imagine the vision. Ayana graduated from high school the same year as me, 1995. Sorry to show your age.
Oh my goodness.
But she graduated from high school the same year. No, I want you to understand the timing of this. They founded the organization in 1976. It gives me goosebumps to this day. She graduates from high school in 1995, college in 1999, and she gets a job at a major pharmaceutical company from this organization that's less than 30 years old. Through the power and influence of black folks working together for a common cause to advance their profession and their presence in it. So there are 5 of us on this call right now, and the year is 2020. What can we accomplish in 10 years? What can we accomplish in 5? How soon before we have our first jobs conference? The last question was about how do we get people in the door? We got to be on the other end of the transaction. We have to place our kids with us. Like when you were young, they'd send you to see your aunt and uncle down south. You know what I'm saying? And you go learn things from them that your parents didn't know, because that's how the knowledge was passed on from generation to generation. We need to understand that the importance of this organization is real. It is measurable. Right? And it is an executable cause. It's more than just spreading the word. Pretty soon, myself and Brother Bless will be at a jobs conference, and people will be talking to him about how did you start your studio? How do you establish connections with labels and distribution networks? How do you maintain your fan database? Because those are also the people you sell to. They're not just people that like your music. They support you fiscally, right? This type of knowledge is invaluable to most people, and we can actually turn this into a tool, right, as an organization, for people to get jobs, for people to open businesses, for people to open the next Reftone, the next Handsome Audio, the next Never So Deep, the next Narrative Audio Technologies, right? we can execute these plans, and by supporting that mission statement, we will transfix and transform this industry into our industry. Because now you'll have to go to Allen if you want to do XYZ. You'll have to go to Dave Hampton if you want to learn this technique. It won't be, well, we're just going to find somebody else to break code and give away the knowledge for free or for pennies, because that's what hurts us, right? I want to hear from the other folks on the call, though. Alan and Dave, Dave and Alan, y'all have so much wisdom. I don't want to waste your time with my mouth, so I want you to share some knowledge here, brothers, please.
I mean,
don't everybody go first.
He said it all.
No, I think they got more. I think they can add a lot of value to this conversation.
I agree. I'm just joking.
I'll let you take it, Dave, because
I'll just say, DJ Bless kind of said it all. That we really have to just stop messing around and stop with some of the I'll just say the low level conversations.
Foolish behavior.
Low level conversations slow you down. The low level conversations drain your energy. The low level conversations, sometimes you got to raise your goals that you want beyond your unmet needs.
Right.
Unmet need drives a lot of people to make bad decisions for the short term, to get involved in stuff, to do whatever, to even take on a project just because you have unmet needs. So we're fortunate, all of us, to be able to take this Sunday because we don't have unmet need biting at us, and we already have established who we are in what we're trying to do, and that we're trying to better the condition. So that in itself puts us where we can slow down, take an assessment of what's going on, and make the right decisions for the right areas and what needs to happen. But we gotta stop just thinking of ourselves, because it's never about you. It's never about you. That's the one thing I can say to anybody in business that was successful for me as a formula, was that at no time did I ever personalize it for my benefit, or it was about highlighting me. I always put my service into other people and who my client was. And the propulsion of their music or whatever their live show, whatever they wanted to do, it was really dedication to that and that alone. And that helped get everything else out. But at that point, it was years of methodically doing it the same way to when I could finally turn around and really approach some principles of branding to it, some principles of marketing to it. Because before that, it was just trying to raise the level of the game so that I was considered as part of a possible solution in any aspect, not just making records. Because I started making records, I went to live shows, and now it's entertainment. If I just have a conversation about making records, it's I haven't learned anything, because it's a larger business than that. We're in the communications industry. We're in the solutions industry. We're in all these industries that are several levels above. That doesn't mean making records is not relevant. It means that making records for me was a starting point. I can go back and make a record tomorrow, but I'm involved in a different aspect of the business today that making records is a small part of.
No, you're right.
It's a small part of. And so we have to keep everything relative, and that goes with not only the ground that we're about to cover, the mountain we're about to climb, but the technique that we use in climbing it. Mm-hmm. We gotta always keep it relevant.
Wow, we have such an amazing board, and I would like to personally thank all of you for having these open and difficult conversations. We have made great strides in the music industry, but we still have a long way to go. As Bbase, we will partner with other organizations to be a catalyst for change and equality for both men and women of color in the world of music production. So at this time, I'm going to pass the mic back over to our executive director, Langston Masingale. Sorry about that, Langston. For our next. Don't kill me.
All right, so what we have coming up now is our fundraising tool, the Bbase Summing Mixer Kit, which Ayana's company, Narrative Audio Technologies, otherwise known as NAT, aka like Nat Turner, is releasing to us as a donation to actually raise funds for Bbase. So I'm going to play a wonderful commercial about it, which is absolutely hilarious, and then we are going to wrap up and adjourn for the day, because this has been a momentous occasion. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Bbase commercial.
Oh yeah, the Bbase Summon Mixer Kit is about to blow your motherfucking mind. Featuring saturation on each input, along with inductor bass EQ to get you resonating in your groove thing. We got full stereo buses, so you can bring all of your flavors together in the right places, if you know what I'm saying. The Bbase Bus comes with all the components and instructions necessary, along with the PCB, so you can get your thing in action. The Bbase Bus kit only costs $100 and goes to a noble cause, the Black and Brown Association of Sound Engineers. And that's a for show. Right on, right on. Visit thebase.org today to find out more information about Bbase, the Black and Brown Association of Sound Engineers.
All right, so that was me doing my best Alan Evans impersonation on the voiceover on that. Oh yeah. But in all reality, the Bbase Summing Mixer Kit is $100. It is a full-fledged stereo summing mixer that has saturation and inductor-based EQ filtering on each channel. This kit can be built, and we're actually working on an enclosure for the kit that will we do a lot of STEM programming with Esteem, Ayana, and myself, and there is a company that actually ships you a box and you make a kit out of the box, including the contents. So what we're working on is being able to provide that to the folks that buy this kit, so that when you get your summing mixer kit, you can use a hole punch pattern and punch the holes for the TRS connections right on the box that it ships in, and spray paint it and do it up like an old school boombox, one of those Indestructo mailer type things, right? And then you have a working summing mixer in a cardboard box. How cool is that? And we think that this is a great fundraising instrument. People love saturation. It's got transformers on the outputs that I've handpicked. And it's just a really cool sounding design. I've let some people preview the sound of it, and they're just over the moon about it. And I think as an organization, because we're fundraising with a piece of technology that speaks to our industry, it's going to really change the perception of this conversation. You know, imagine that a Black and Brown organization that's in the audio industry, and the first thing we do is we introduce new technology through it, right? We need to use this tool as an attractant to other people that are entrepreneurs in this field that may not realize there are other Black and Brown owned businesses that make technology. Let's be honest. We all have had this, like, I think I'm the only one, right? We all have said that. And then somebody says, yo, did you know that so-and-so sister makes guitar pedals? You're like, really? I got to meet this person, right? Like, we need to use this tool as best we can, not only just for the money raising piece, it's also a great business card for the organization, you know, because we're not just a bunch of folks that sit around and talk angry about what the man isn't doing for us. We make moves at Bbase. We are the foundation for a lot of new conversations and opportunities for people of color. And I think this would also be a great thing if you have kids that are like teenagers, per se. Alan, I know you have a son that just went off to college, right? It would be really cool to have him do this kit with you. You know, like, hey, son, let's make a mixer together. You know, this is a great teaching tool for young people and for adults alike. And we have online training classes that are going to walk people through, as I mentioned before, to actually show them how to do the kit. So that'll be something that if you purchase this, you'll get the invite link and be able to log in and go step by step with me, showing you how to put together this design. So we're going to have the link live for the Bbase kit as a fundraising tool for people to register for it. and that'll be a mailing list. And then when the kits are ready to ship, which should be in about 2 weeks' time, we're going to send out invoices to folks so that they can contribute. There is no limit to how many you can buy. So if people even want to buy some and sell them locally like Girl Scout cookies, I'm all for it. This would be a great thing to do as a community project where you live with some kids in your neighborhood, or some of your bros or sisters that want to do something for their studio on the cheap, but they want something quality. I can't overemphasize how cool this is. I wish something like this was going on 10 years ago, right? When I first attended AES. But it's happening through us. And again, you'll be able to go to the website and see that. And again, I just want to thank the board for joining me today. I know every one of you is just insanely busy. And is a very important person in your own regard, so I appreciate you dedicating the time and bandwidth for this practice. Oh, just as a side note as well, one of the other pieces of money from the proceeds of this will actually go towards a very important cause that Bbase has also agreed to partner with. So, if you have multiple nonprofits, they should all kind of be aligned, right? So one of the things that Bbase is aligned with is eSteam's current charge of, we have a new movement called Let's Close the Digital Divide. And we realize right now at this time with remote learning, with kids being at home, especially children of color in areas like the urban center, everybody is pushing for remote distance learning, but the digital divide is a real phenomenon, which is basically that in most black and brown households in America, there's not a personal computer or an internet connection. So a lot of the children in America that are expected to learn absent from school do not even have the technology or tools to access classroom time. But people expect it to just be, we're just going to do remote distance learning, and like the majority of your students don't have technology. They don't have high band internet to even do a Zoom call like this. So Let's Close the Digital Divide is also another fundraising effort that is going to put tablets and technology in the hands of children all over America. And so Ayana and I have been working very diligently with that. And so part of the money from this will go towards that cause, which is also another reason to push the heck out of this, right? Some of the money from this will go to put tablets in kids' hands so they can actually go to school. Imagine that. There's a lot of things that can come of efforts like this, and we need to do the simple things first, but we all need to realize the importance and impact of these type of decisions that we're making as an organization. But again, I appreciate y'all. Love everybody that joined this call. Much love to you. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to register to vote for those of you that are on the other end of this conversation. I saw the other day that only 20% of the players in the NBA are registered to vote. What's up with that? Y'all need to register to vote. You dribble a basketball, you can flick a switch. Okay, register to vote. All right, and that goes for y'all that make beats and everything. If you know how to program Reason, you should be registered to vote. Okay, we need to hit the polls this fall. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for because that's against the law. Okay, because that's nonprofit rules. You cannot tell people who to vote for. I'm only going to tell you to vote. So you need to be enabled to vote. So go register to vote. All right. And again, I'm going to let y'all go because we could keep this going. That's the other thing about having a bunch of brown folks on a phone call. We'll go all night. We'll be eating dinner, still talking smack. All right. But again, appreciate all of y'all. Have a great night. And that concludes this meeting. We are adjourned, folks. So please check your emails in the next couple of days. We'll have some information going out along with the link to this video. Take care and